From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Hannah Mordo, and this is your News 8 Daily for Thursday, November 20th. This morning, another day filled with drizzle, cloudy, cool conditions. Also, a lot of fog out there. Might have some issues, again, with the drive this morning. Hopefully, it will burn off as the day goes on. We're starting temperatures not too bad, in the mid-40s. Highs, though, will be about 53 degrees. New on Daybreak, another Republican state lawmaker says he is the victim of a swatting attempt. This is the second time it's happened since the leader of the state Senate said they would not meet to redraw the state's congressional districts, and President Trump lashed out at some Indiana Republicans. Senator Dan Darnell of Lake County issued a statement saying he and his family were victims of a swatting attempt yesterday, but he says law enforcement quickly recognized the call that supposedly came from his home and that it was false. Darnell says, in part, threats to public officials cannot and should not be the norm. I hope to see justice for this illegal behavior. Both Senator Darnell and this week's other swatting victim, Senator Greg Good, have not taken a public position on redrawing districts to help Republicans win more seats in Congress. However, both voted during this week's Organization Day to adjourn the state Senate until January, rather than come back next month for a special session that Governor Mike Braun has been calling for. Yesterday, Braun joined us live on Daybreak and again called on state Senate leader Rod Bray to reconvene the Senate and get all of the lawmakers to vote on record and show whether they back redistricting.
He's pulled that, and I don't think it's representative of his own caucus. And just yesterday, to adjourn until January, he had to get Democrats on vote to actually do that because half of his Republican caucus was against it.
Senator Bray issued a statement after Organization Day saying he and Senate Republicans want to see their party control the House in Washington. However, many in my caucus, myself included, do not feel that redrawing our congressional districts mid-cycle is the best way to achieve that goal. In other state news, Governor Braun is giving the green light to send around 300 Indiana National Guard soldiers to Washington, D.C. next month. The governor says they will support the D.C. National Guard and safety enhancement measures in the U.S. Capitol. Indiana Guard says the mission is expected to last around 4 months. The U.S. Department of Justice now has 30 days to release all of its files and communications related to Jeffrey Epstein. President Trump signed the measure forcing the department to release all of its files on Epstein. Trump could have released the files on his own months ago, but did not. Then this week, Congress overwhelmingly passed a discharge petition forcing the files to be released. Trump and Epstein were friends years ago, but the president insists he did not know about Epstein's crimes involving young girls being trafficked for sex. Before Trump signed the measure, Democrats said they will be watching the release of the files closely to make sure the names of anyone close to Epstein are not redacted.
No hiding, no game playing, no covering up. Pressure to make sure the documents are released in their entirety and not warped by a corrupt DOJ who's hell-bent on hiding the truth, bending the law, and protecting Trump.
The Justice Department is also expected to release information about Epstein's death in federal prison in 2019. Here in Indiana, the family of a fallen deputy is sharing their memories and grief. Delaware County Corporal Blake Reynolds died last week after a semi hit him while he was helping a stranded driver along I-69. News 8's Malia Van Ostrin spoke to his parents and brother.
When Blake walked into a room, you knew he was in the room. And, you know, he was funny. He was hilarious. And he just had this grin, a smirk. It was a crooked smirk. And when you knew he was doing that, he was thinking about doing something ornery or saying something ornery.
Blake's mom says she fondly remembers him sending silly memes and videos in their family group chat and would often call to check on his family whenever there was an accident near where they lived or worked.
I wish some of the things that we found out recently about how he has served this community, I wish we knew those then, so we could have told him how proud. I mean, we always told him how proud we were, but specifically about things that we have found out recently that he had done.
Blake loved watching scary movies, Batman and Star Wars, playing the guitar, and spending time with his loved ones. His younger brother Dustin says they've always been close, but in recent years they bonded even more. He says he'll miss calling his brother late at night to hear his work stories and talk about life.
I was always kind of jealous of that he was out there serving the community we grew up in, serving people that we've known our whole lives. And I enjoy hearing those stories. And even today, the stories keep pouring in.
Reynolds' father is the chaplain for the Delaware County Sheriff's Department. He says the last time he saw his son alive was when he got to join him for a ride-along on November 6th. It reminded him of the one-on-one time they would spend together when Blake was a kid.
A lot of dads don't get that opportunity. That can't be taken away from me. It's always here.
Blake's parents were in Virginia watching Dustin graduate from the DEA Academy when they heard about the early morning crash.
The fact that Blake gave his life doing what he loves has been a little bit better for us.
You know, he wasn't in a pursuit, excuse me, and crashed. He didn't get shot.
He did everything right.
He did everything right as a law enforcement officer. And it was just a senseless, horrific tragedy. And that's what makes me angry. There was no reason this had to happen.
Blake's visitation ceremony will be at Grace Baptist Church in Muncie, the church his wife Allison grew up in.
We are, privileged, thankful, honored to be able to do this for the family and the community. We have a lot of respect for and appreciate law enforcement and the first responder community in general. And so this is just a blessing to be able to do this.
The Reynolds family says they feel supported by their law enforcement family and the community. They hope to continue to keep Blake's memory alive.
Suggestions of having a day in Delaware County once a year in his name, to having maybe a highway in his honor named after him. There's been many things. And as proud as you are and how awesome that is, I'd still rather have my son.
Yeah.
I just want him back.
In Delaware County, I'm Aaliyah Van Ostrand for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
Visitation for Corporal Reynolds is tomorrow from 2 to 7 p.m. at Grace Baptist Church in Muncie. His funeral is set for Saturday morning at 10 at Delta High School. We'll have live coverage of the service here on Wish TV and WishTV.com. To iTeammate now. People who live and work in Kirkland are showing support after a traffic stop ended with 2 town marshals and a suspect shot. The marshals were working as backup for a Clinton County Sheriff's deputy on State Road 29 when the situation escalated. iTeammate's Tim Spears reports.
The Clinton County prosecutor told me investigators met at 11 a.m. Wednesday morning to discuss next steps in the case before handing it over for possible charges. I spoke to a man who heard the shooting start while he was sitting at home, and he feels fortunate it didn't turn fatal.
Just hear about 5, 6, or 7 small cracks. All of a sudden there was an ambulance, and then 2 cop cars, another ambulance, and then probably about 18 more cop cars after that.
Evan Hudzinski didn't see the shooting on State Road 29, but he heard it from his home in Michigan Town. Then he heard all about it from the customers grabbing a cup of coffee.
I mean, it's scary, it's a simple traffic stop. It's scary for the people that especially work for our town and all around in the area.
Kirkland is a small town of about 700, where you can even get to know who's making your bread.
I think normally this town is very quiet. It's safe. I have no hesitation walking the streets.
Locals say crime isn't much of an issue here. The town marshals are part-time, most visible on traffic enforcement, keeping the roads safe. And it was on State Road 29, helping a Clinton County Sheriff's deputy when the shooting started. State police say all adult occupants were out of the car when a passenger shot at the 2 deputy marshals. Officers fired back. One marshal wasn't hurt. The bullet got stuck in their vest. The other was taken to the hospital. State police say the suspect was arrested after trying to run.
Just what are people thinking? Why would you draw on an officer? You know what I'm saying? Why would you put yourself and, the police in jeopardy?
The conditions out on the street have become more dangerous.
National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund CEO Bill Alexander says this points to the increasing risk to officers on the job, with 285 officers shot in the line of duty through October of this year, according to Fraternal Order of Police statistics.
Everyone who is lucky enough to call this great country home to be mindful of those very real sacrifices made by men and women in uniform.
My heart goes out to everybody who is involved in this situation, and I'll keep them all in my prayers. It was tragic. I would hope something like this never happens in our community again.
And Evans says the next cup of coffee for those officers is on the house.
We're all thinking about them. I mean, they're part of the community.
The Kirkland Police Marshal Brendan Bright said his focus is on the health of his two deputies. Neither those officers or the suspect involved have been identified. Reporting in Kirkland, Tim Spears for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
In Johnson County, 26 people are under arrest in a drug bust. The Johnson County Sheriff's Office says it partnered with Franklin Police to issue 32 warrants. The drug sweep involved 7 agencies in total. Officials say some of the drugs confiscated included meth, cocaine, marijuana, and fentanyl.
Until you show up at a house and you're dealing with a dead child, these low-level dealers, they're getting drugs from somewhere, so it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that what we're working on is prevention, trying to be proactive.
People arrested in the drug bust range from 20 to 68 years old. Police did not go into detail on the amount of drugs that were confiscated. New on Daybreak, the WNBA has proposed a new collective bargaining agreement that includes more revenue sharing with players and a maximum salary of more than $1.1 million. The Associated Press is reporting the terms of the proposed deal. The league has not made that information public. The league and players union, though, are in the midst of a 30-day extension of contract talks. Players are trying to get big increase in pay, with other leagues offering women multi-million-dollar deals. The AP says the WNBA's offer would boost the minimum salary from $66,000 to $220,000. The overall average player salary would more than quadruple to more than $460,000. So far, there's been no comment from the players' union on the new proposal. September and October job data that was delayed because of the government shutdown is now being released. It could be vital in determining the Federal Reserve's next rate decision. Amy Kiley reports.
This is going to be really key.
Economic reports coming out today could influence the Federal Reserve's next rate decision. They contain data on home sales, mortgage rates, and the belated September jobs numbers. That last one is crucial to the Fed's dual mandate. It's charged with maximizing employment while controlling inflation.
As this chart shows, we've seen just this dramatic slowdown in job growth in the U.S. economy.
The Fed uses economic data to decide what to do with interest rates, but it's missing information due to the government shutdown.
This report is going to go a long way into shaping all of those concerns about the U.S. economy and questions about what the Federal Reserve is going to do next.
It seems even before this new data, some Fed officials were leaning toward holding rates steady next month. That's according to newly released minutes from their October meeting. Rates already are down after 2 cuts earlier this year. Now futures show investors don't predict a third. That's despite President Donald Trump's attempt to pressure the Fed into slashing rates. That would lower the cost of borrowing money. But many economists say his tariffs are inflationary. They warn cutting rates too soon could raise prices for Americans.
We have inflation. Do you want to be cutting rates into a record housing and asset environment?
I'm Amy Conley for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
This has been your News 8 Daily. From Wish TV, I'm Hannah Mordeau. Watch us on Wish TV and WishTV.com.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at WishTV.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.